Well, if I can have your attention here in the media center, we will go ahead and start with our post-race media availability. We are joined by the race-winning crew chief and race-winning car owner tonight at the number 11 FedEx Freight Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. We have team owner Joe Gibbs and crew chief Chris Gabehart. We will open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand and we will get a wireless microphone to you. We will start with Jerry and then go to Jacob.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTires.net. Before the races, y'all were rolling off pit road. Denny had a lot of smoke coming out of the exhaust. Was that any concern, or did you guys notice that at all?
Yeah, that's actually pretty standard for our engine package, as crazy as that sounds. So, yeah, no concern.
Jacob?
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Chris, I know, it's been preached kind of in this hour or so since the checkered, and Denny even said it in his interview there on the front stretch, but from your standpoint, was it tough at all to keep him patient and keep preaching that, knowing, even when he had the loose wheel, you still had more than half the race to go to get back up to where he did to be in contention?
No, not tough, because that's how it works, right? I mean, coach's terminology, that's the middle of the second quarter. There's still a long way to go. It's a 500 lap race, it's not a 200 lap race. So, and we've seen too many times cars come up with some issues here and rebound to have good finishes or even win. And while pitting under green and losing 2 laps and winning is probably not something you see very often at this place, there's just no quit in this 11 team. We're too good a team with too much firepower. I've been saying it all year long, and Denny's hitting on all 8 right now. So when I got him like that, it doesn't matter if it's still got 4 wheels on it and they're rolling. We're going to get after it.
We'll come up front to Jenna.
Coach Jennifer AP. In one of Denny's post-race interviews, he talked about how much he's grown this year, and he specifically said he's grown off the track and he's a better person. Do you see that? What does he mean by that?
I do see that. I think Denny, I think maturing, everything that's going on with him, and he did mention off the track, and I know he's made a real effort in a lot of ways. And so I think he is maturing as a person and certainly as a race car driver. I think Chris deserves a lot of credit. I think he's really got Denny grounded. I think, when you get a lot of confidence going with the crew chief, it makes a huge difference. And I think tonight was a good example. Everything in the world happened. And for them to still win the race, I think it was a great effort. And for me personally, it's a huge deal for me when I see JD over the door in the winner's circle. Seeing Denny have this kind of year, it just makes me realize, how much we miss him and how much he means to our race team and what he means to Denny, too.
Chris, what did you do to ground him?
I don't know. Every great sports team is always about chemistry, in my opinion. It's the ones and zeros are important, the X's and O's, whatever you want to call it. But in the end, it comes down to chemistry, and chemistry is a very fragile thing, and it's something that you can gain quickly and lose just as quickly. But really, it comes down to trust and faith in one another and faith in this group. And I think trust is earned. It's not something that's given. But I think fortunately we got off on a good foot, Denny and I, and this race team, and over time he's just realized that if he stays in the game, we're going to have a shot at it. And the last 6 or 7 races, 8 really, we've just had pretty clean races. This one wasn't clean tonight. I call clean races green races in my stat sheet. There was a while where we didn't have very many green ones, but we were running really well. We've ran well all year. It really just come down to getting the green races, and we've had a lot of them lately, and the results speak for themselves.
Additional questions? Go to Nate and then back to Jacob.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Chris, I think at one point you said something to the effect of, to Denny, play it where it lands. Did you, knowing he's a golfing guy, did you just know that would put him at ease, kind of?
Well, I mean, it's a saying I've used a lot, but I mean that's what you got to do, right? I mean, not every golf shot's a great shot, but what you have to do is focus on the task at hand. We're land where we land. How do we execute the best from here? And that's my job, right? I know he sits in a little cocoon there, and he's driving his butt off, especially at a place like this, and it's hot, and it's it's easy to struggle and say, man, the uphill climb is too tough, and focus on what just happened. But that's not important. You know, what's important is here's our situation, what's next? And clearly he's doing a great job of understanding that.
And you mentioned chemistry. I think in post-race, Denny talked about, some other people talked about as well, just the medal that your team is showing is certainly like championship worthy. I mean, do you feel as if, 3 races to go in the regular season, you guys have kind of gelled and gotten to this point, or do you feel like this team always had it in it from the start?
I just want to win every week. That's all we want to do is win every week, and this team's got it. Like I said, we went through an 8-race stretch there where I had no clean races. You know, we're fast as can be at the 600 in Charlotte and have right front tire issues. We're getting in a fence on restarts, and there was a time there I was sending my A team over the wall literally every week to fix the car for like 4 or 5 weeks straight. But it wasn't because we weren't running well. It's just situations. You're going to go through slumps, and it's how you pull out of those. So, championships, yeah, sure, great. But I want to win Darlington. Then I want to win Indy. Then I want to win Vegas. That's how we go about it.
Jacob?
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport Coach. 2010, you talked earlier about how much Denny's grown as a driver, as a person. Back then, we kind of saw him crumble a little bit under the pressure of that championship chase. Now, seeing how he's changed over the past decade, do you feel like he's ready to win a championship and make that push this year?
I think there's a certain part of pro sports that, that the discipline, the long haul, and experience means a lot. And so I think Denny's paid his price. I think he really wants it. I will say this. For FedEx, that would be so great. I talked to Fred Smith, and see a company like that, one of the premier companies in America, and for them to be a part of our sport like that for so long, and they take the whole car, and they're there every single week. And tonight we probably had 25 FedEx executives here. It's just a huge deal. And, man, I know how much it would mean to them. It would mean a lot to us as a race team to see them get a championship. I think Denny's certainly paid the price, and I think he's, certainly going to be one of the ones that's capable of getting it done. And I'd say the other thing about pro sports, that there's nothing builds confidence like success, winning. I've seen that. And I think Chris and Denny, the farther they go, the more races they have where they overcome something and make a big decision, race their rear end off, and have a chance to win it. I think it builds a lot of confidence in all of us, everybody back at the race shop and everybody there, for sure.
Additional questions? We'll go to Lee.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com for Coach. Christopher Bell, wondering what kind of plans you have for him for next season, since he's under contract.
Yeah, I wish that things like this would go quicker. And the only thing I say, as quick as we can, we would like to announce something. The problem is there's so many things that are involved with it. There's sponsors and so many things that have to get done. And we're not there yet, but I'm hoping that we're going to be there pretty quick.
And ditto with Eric Jones.
Yes.
And do you expect Ream to go with Bell when he makes his move, whatever that is?
Yeah, I think that everything is still in the works, and we're after it as hard as we can.
He just won the race. Just leave him alone.
No, basically, I'm not answering that question.
Yeah.
Hey, the only thing I got from football was how to not answer a question, because you get quite a few you don't want to answer. No, I'm serious. I wish we could just come out and say, but it takes a long time to get it done. So,
Coach, I've enjoyed seeing you tap dance over the years. Gabehart, after the race, I believe you said it takes a village, and you're glad to be part of this one. Do you kind of approach this team with more of a global view than, you would just, I guess, a normal job?
Yeah, I got to tell you, for me, it's been such a humbling experience working up the ladder. I mean, it was less than 10 years ago. I was a late model guy, and I built my shocks and mounted the tires myself and drove a little bit, and then crew chief in cars is a very similar thing. And now I'm literally a part of a 500-plus person company, and standing at the back of the truck at the Daytona 500, talking to my guys when we loaded everything up, and just telling them how appreciative I was of everything they did and how humbling it was for me, because it really does take a village. I mean, yes, it takes my vision and Denny's vision and Coach's vision, but without all the people that it takes to get it done, it's just that, it's vision. You can't carry it out. So really, truly understanding that and embracing that and enjoying watching the fruits of my team's labor end in success is really what it's all about for me. I mean, I don't get in a hurry to go to victory lane because for me, it's just about watching those guys succeed, and it's been great.
And we are now joined by our race-winning driver, Denny Hamlin, number 11 FedEx Freight Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Questions for Denny? Go right here to the middle.
Peter Estrada, TSJ Sports. Denny, coming into tonight, you only had one Bristol win. Having your illustrious short track background, does it mean more to you to have multiple wins at every short track?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that, but I mean, it's just, this race is special just in general. I mean, you see how many people were in the stands today and tonight, and you just saw the atmosphere really when I got here on Friday. It was just, it was electric. I mean, you could just tell this weekend is big, and I definitely got at least 2 or 3 texts from my crew chief saying, this one's really important to me, just so you know. So he encouraged me to not take one lap off, that I have a week off ahead of me and I can rest then. So he was whipping the horse for the entire week, and so I knew that I definitely can say I did not take a lap off tonight. So it was great to be able to come back, obviously, from 2 laps down, and obviously have multiple wins now at every short track. So, it used to be, I would say, early in my career that it was like, I just can't wait to get to the short tracks. But now I just can't wait to get to a racetrack in general. We can win. It doesn't matter if it's a road course or a short track or super speedway or anywhere. We just can win every single week. And really for the last 2 months, it's just been incredible that the adjustments we've made as the season's gone on and just keep getting better.
Okay, we're going to go to Bob, then to Dustin, and then to Jeff.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. I have 2. First for Denny, what's it like to win a race when maybe only the people wearing 11 shirts were probably
I know.
happy?
Yeah, I know. I get it and I understand, and there's some special circumstances there for sure. It is a tough business at times, but Matt is doing a phenomenal job of showing his resume in front of everyone, and so he doesn't need to type it out. He's going out there and performing, and he will land as good or better on his feet. I'm certain of it after this year. So I'm really encouraged. I mean, I know that 2 years ago when he came out with a video and said that they didn't have any funding, my first response was, well, here's $5,000 of my money because I believe in his talent. I believe he should be on the racetrack. And so that started a firestorm of tweets that led to them getting someone saw my tweet of this poker company and they sponsored him for 6 races full time. So full sponsor. So it's just, there's a lot of people that believe in Matt, and yes, he's been clawing these last few years. But you would also argue and say he's gotten better, and he's gotten better rides year after year. So I would hope that trend would continue next year.
And Coach, this might be another one that you might need to tap dance around, but is Wheeler is he still under contract with you guys, and do you know what you'll do with him if so next year?
Yeah, I would just say he's under contract for sure, long term. And we all love Wheels. He's been a very key part to our organization. And then when he moved over to the 95, he's just done an outstanding job over there. Everything, I think, shows that. And so, yeah, he's under long-term contract. I want to say to Denny that Coy, myself, our family, appreciates everything he's done for JD. I just want to say that to him.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Denny, what did you tell Matt in Victory Lane?
Well, some of that I want to keep private. It was kind of between us, but just kind of reiterated what kind of what I said in the interviews of I hated. I mean, there was not even over a teammate. There's not someone worse that I wanted to see in the front, and so when I was marching through the field, I'm like hoping that someone passed him, so I didn't take the win away. But he was fast, and he was marching there at the end, and I knew I was going to get him, and I just was thinking about it the whole time. I was like, there's definitely there's a lot of people at home, a lot of people in the stands that probably don't want to see this happen, but it's going to happen. So it stinks, and like I say, I've been doing this now for 14 years, and I haven't won a championship. And so to win a championship, you must win in the regular season, unless you think you're going to win the final 3 races in the second to last stage. So I'm going to be in a better position this year than I've ever been as far as playoff points are concerned, and it just comes from a lot of hard work. We've really worked hard to get in this position, and hopefully we get through the playoffs without any attrition and bad luck happening, because I think on performance we're in a good, very, very good place right now.
And also, as you alluded to, with a couple years ago helping Matt out with the sponsorship, what is it about Matt? Why are you friendly with him? Why do you have any feelings in that sense? Obviously, there were some other drivers that came up to him. Why Matt? Because I don't know if there's some other drivers that there would be as many people that would be as happy or care.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that me and Matt aren't close in the sense of, we don't hang out outside the racetrack, but I have an immense amount of respect for him. So, when I was in my very final race in late models, and my racing career was over in 2002 because of finances. I was driving for my family's late model team, and there was a car owner named Jim Dean that was standing about 5 or 6 people behind me in the sign-in line, and he says, and someone asked me, say, hey, are you going to be at the final race at Myrtle Beach? I told him no, that my parents said this is it. I mean, we're about to lose everything, so this is it. I'm just going to work at my dad's trailer shop, and that's my future. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I was content with it. I really was. But he came up to me and says, hey, I overheard you say you're not going to be able to go to the final event. I said, yeah, we just don't have the money. He said, well, I know that, if you don't know, I own these 2 cars. He said, but if we don't go into the final race and we win, I don't feel like we beat the best. So call me on Tuesday and let me know how much money you need to go to the race. And so I called him on Tuesday. Oddly enough, him and his driver had a falling out on Monday, one of his drivers. So he said, hop in my seat. I qualified on the pole, led 225 of the 250 laps. I got passed, finished second. But anyway, he said, tell your family to go ahead and sell everything that you're going to drive for me next year. And so I thought about that when I saw Matt's video of, they can't, that the team didn't have the finances. And I knew that, we could give them $500,000. It's not, the team, he was fighting an uphill battle. He wasn't going to go out there and win. But I just thought to pay it forward. I mean, someone gave me that opportunity and kept my career going, and it, like I said, led to a 6 or 7 race sponsor for him later that season. So yeah, just trying to pay it forward, because I think that a lot of people have a lot of respect for him. He's humble, and this is not a story of he's just going to go away. This is only the beginning for him. He's writing his resume on TV every weekend.
We'll go to Jeff, then to Jenna, then to Jerry, then to Mike.
I understand what you're saying, that, hopefully this is just the beginning and it's a good story, but given the reality of people needing to bring money and things these days, what if it's not? Like, what if he doesn't get something else? What does it say about the sport now where that's not a certainty? Because it should be, right?
Right.
But it's not. So what does that say about how things are, that there's a question?
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot. But, I mean, ultimately, the car owners make the decision. There's many car owners that finance cars that are on the racetrack, good teams. They got to step up and grow some balls and take a chance on somebody that they really believe in. So that, or they can continue to run 15th.
Jenna?
Denny, in your NBC Sports interview, you said that this year you've had the most growth. You particularly mentioned off track. You think you're a better person. What do you mean? Like, what's changed? What's different?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I probably shouldn't say anything on TV. I'm not going to get too much into the personal stuff, but, you know, I just think eventually you get older, and, you know, I got a couple kids now, and seeing them grow up, and just doing a lot of growth. And I think that, you know, on and off the racetrack. And I think that as I've focused on being a better person outside the race car, it is directly, you know, whether it be coincidence or not, it's directly linked to my on-track performance. So I think some of it is coincidence because we are going back to these races for a second time. You know, our finishes on these 3 tracks that we've raced twice is first, second. So that's the crew chief. That's not me. That's him doing a good job of adjusting to my needs. But he's doing a good job of keeping me honest, keeping me focused, and for me personally, I've just had a lot more time to reflect on what I want to do, what I want to be, and being content with kind of who I am personally. I mean, I think that social media at times can be you know, such a bad thing because it, you know, they love you when you're winning and you're terrible when you're losing. So, I mean, I wish we could go back and look at my timeline at this time last year. You know, I was terrible. It's what everyone else thought, but it's a negative. It's just a place for people to drag you down and try to compare you to people that they think are great. And so I've really tried to you know, limit how much I kind of watch on social media. Because I think it is definitely a bad comparison platform, but ultimately I do still enjoy it because you still can connect to those that are positive. So yeah, I don't know. 2019 overall is a big turning point in life and career, and hopefully it all, you know, ends up well from this point forward. Welcome.
Jerry?
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net. Real quick, Matt was talking about his relationship with you and how he's watched you as he was a kid. You're not that much older than him. Does that make you feel old at all? That you know, you got somebody like Matt who idolizes you as one of his favorite drivers?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Matt Kenseth right now. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's very, I mean, I'm taken aback by it because I'm just like, you know, he's great in his own right. And you know, I think I have some respect for my competitors, but for someone to openly say something like that, I didn't know he said anything, but yeah, I mean, I'm blushing. Well, he hasn't been in the sport 14 years either, so.
Go next to Michael and then to Hunter.
Mike Massey with Front Stretch. Denny, do you think that if you hadn't had that winless season last year, would you be appreciating this success as much? Or
No, definitely not, for sure. I mean, I think that it's interesting. I mean, you know, most of the, you know, what I consider great drivers have bad years. But, man, when you experience it yourself, it's like, it really stinks. And like I said about the social media stuff, at least they didn't have to read it back then. You know, it was in the newspaper, and if you wanted to see it, you had to pick it up. So, but today it's a click of a button. So you get reminded constantly of where you stand in life's stature as far as other people are concerned. So certainly I am more grateful now. Certainly. I mean, I did have doubts at times. It was like, man, what in the world is going on? Like, what am I doing wrong that is keeping these cars from running faster? But I think that sometimes just relationships click, and I think that Chris is super hungry, and he keeps he keeps me on my toes for sure. And so I think that that relationship is just sparked, and I think it's something almost like you saw with Kyle and Adam Stevens. Kyle had good years, and then he had really bad years, and then he linked up with Adam Stevens, and it took off. So I think it's very similar to the relationship now that I've got with Chris.
Was that the strangest win from the pole you've ever had?
Yeah. I don't know. My very first one in Pocono, we blew a tire. I qualified on the pole, blew a tire, went to the back, and passed everyone and won the race. So, but this one certainly was gratifying because you like making a charge at the end to win the race. I mean, it's one thing to go out there, pull away, and win by 5 seconds, but it's another to start. I think I restarted 9th on the final restart, which is, and I mean, that was to come from the inside line, pass all those guys, and march to the front and pass someone with close to 10 to go, and that makes me feel pretty good.
Next to Hunter.
Hunter Thomas with the fourthturn.com. Denny, you've pieced together like 6 consecutive top 5 finishes. Now you're heading to Darlington where you're
Have I ever
at.
told you look like Drew Herring?
I have not.
You talk like him too.
Awesome. I guess that's a good thing. Anyways, you're heading to Darlington where your average finish is about 6. Man, how does that momentum really kind of set you up for Darlington and then the playoffs coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to it right now. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the off week, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just like, I'm on cloud 9 right now. I mean, everything's just going really well. It's just, I don't know. Everything's going well. I'm going to statistically the average finish, like you talked about, my best racetrack. So I don't know. What else can go right? When everybody else is thinking what else can go wrong, I'm thinking what else can go right now.
Zach?
Zach at Tanzretti, KickTheTires.net. Matt mentioned Mike Wheeler and how he would be devastated if we won't get to work with him next year. What is it really about Mike that his contributions to a race team that really make him special more than other crew chiefs maybe?
Well, what makes him really good is he's an engineer that works really well with simulation, and I think that's his strong suit. Is he's really good with working with the engineers on setups because he essentially worked in an engineering spot for such a long time in the Cup Series, and like I said, was with me in the Mike Ford days, the Darian Grubb days. I mean, he was around the whole time. So he's been in the Cup Series for a very long time, and he knows what he's doing, and he definitely deserves and should be crew chiefing next year in a prime car for sure.
Go up front to Lee.
SpencerRacingBoys.com. You're a huge golfer, and I mean, guys that play on the tour, and most of them travel with sports psychologists. They have them with them constantly. Have you worked with anybody like that since the days when, I hate to say this, but when you're sitting at Phoenix just completely devastated during the Mike Ford era, where the championship was yours to lose? Has there been anything where you've just worked on yourself between that point in your career and where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that 2011 was the last time that I, kind of talked with someone in that field. But like I said, I think more so than anything, I've just grown up. I mean, I've really seen the sport and seen it evolve over the last 14 years, and I'm seeing my kids grow up, and it's just, I don't know, eventually you got to grow up and see the bigger picture. And so I think for me, it's just, a lot of soul searching, things like that to figure out what makes me happy and being content with kind of who I am, the successes and the failures, because everyone's imperfect, but you gotta embrace it. So I just think that, it's just those people are helpful. There's no doubt about it. When I met with them in 2011, I bounced back and had a 5-win season in 2012. So I think that they are useful. Bob Rotella is who I talked to, and he's was primarily a golf guy. And so I think it doesn't matter what sport. They don't have to know anything about racing to kind of teach you about confidence and getting you back on track.
We'll close it out here with Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Denny, Coach was in here earlier and talked a lot, as you alluded to, about how you've grown up and how you've grown as a person and a driver. From where you were 9 years ago during that battle with Johnson to where you are now, do you feel like you're more ready now to go after that championship than you were the first time?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I've learned so much in the last 9 years when it comes down to it. I remember, the whole Phoenix debacle, and I think that I would be better suited to, if I had adversity the week before and whatnot. I mean, essentially, if we don't, miscalculate fuel mileage and run out of fuel or something like that at Phoenix, we just got to start our engines, and there is no pressure at Homestead. But that race turned on its head pretty quickly for us, and I never got over it. It was like, I just never forgave myself or anyone for, not stomping on their throat when we had the chance to. So it was, that was tough. And then, at Homestead, second guessing myself. I remember in qualifying, I watched someone run the high line. I hadn't even run the high line the entire practice, and I see someone run a fast lap up high, and I'm like, I've got to do that. I go up there and I qualify like 30th, and it was terrible. And so that was just immaturity and really letting the moment, kind of get the best of you, and not understanding that if you just do yourself and you focus on what you can do good, you're going to have better results. So certainly I would like that opportunity back. And the closest we've had to it is 2014, where we're leading the race, 9 laps to go at Homestead. We were in the final 4, and somebody 5 laps down wrecks. And so that Kevin Harvick came and took tires and passed us, and that was his championship. So we've a lot of people have won at my expense, and so I'm gonna cash in if I get that opportunity again.
Well, Denny, congratulations.
All right.
Enjoy your off week. We'll see you at Darlington.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.